Imagine waking up 50,000 years ago with a deep cut across your leg. There is no hospital. No antibiotics. No painkillers. No doctor waiting nearby. No clean emergency room, no medical scanner, and no little white bottle that can stop an infection before it spreads. There is only you, a small group of humans, and a wilderness that does not care whether you survive. Today, a wound like this might be treated within minutes. But for ancient humans, even a seemingly ordinary injury could become a serious threat. So how did they survive? The answer is not that ancient humans were somehow immune to disease. They weren't. They got infections. They broke bones. They suffered parasites, injuries, childbirth complications, and countless illnesses we still recognize today. And yet, generation after generation, they continued. To understand why, we have to stop imagining ancient humans as helpless people wandering around without any knowledge of medicine. They were observing the world constantly. Every day was an experiment. A plant made someone sick. Another plant relieved pain. A particular leaf helped stop bleeding. A certain type of clay could be placed over a wound. A person who survived an injury became a source of knowledge for everyone else. Nobody needed to write a medical textbook for the information to survive. It could survive through memory. Imagine a small group moving through a forest. One person notices an animal chewing on a particular plant after being injured. The animal eventually becomes active again. That observation might seem meaningless to us. But to a human whose survival depended on noticing patterns, it could be valuable. Ancient humans did not understand chemistry or microbiology. They didn't know what an antibiotic molecule was. But they didn't necessarily need to understand the mechanism to discover that something worked. This is one of the most important differences between modern medicine and ancient healing. Modern medicine asks, why does this treatment work? Ancient people often had to begin with, does this seem to work? If enough generations noticed the same result, the knowledge could become tradition. And tradition could become survival. But plants were only part of the story. The human body itself was remarkably useful. A wound immediately begins trying to repair itself. Blood clots. The immune system attacks invading organisms. Damaged tissue begins rebuilding. Bones can reconnect. Skin can close. Ancient humans didn't create these systems. They were born with them. But there was a problem. Sometimes the body's defenses weren't enough. A small wound could become infected. And without antibiotics, infection could spread. This meant that ancient humans needed another form of protection. Behavior. If someone was badly injured, surviving wasn't only about medicine. It was about the group. Imagine a hunter returning to camp with a damaged leg. He can't hunt. He can't travel normally. He may not even be able to defend himself. If he lived completely alone, the injury could be devastating. But humans are social animals. Someone else can bring food. Someone can protect the injured person. Someone can help clean the wound. Someone can carry them. Someone can remember which plants or techniques were useful. This changes the equation completely. An individual human may be physically vulnerable. A coordinated group is much harder to destroy. And this social cooperation may be one of the most important reasons humans survived for so long. But there is another clue hidden in ancient skeletons. Scientists studying prehistoric human remains sometimes find evidence of injuries that healed. A broken bone that has completely fused tells us something remarkable. The person didn't just suffer the injury. They survived long enough for their body to repair it. And if the injury was severe enough to prevent normal movement, their survival may also suggest that other people helped them. A person with a badly damaged leg cannot easily hunt, gather food, or escape danger. Yet some ancient skeletons show individuals who lived for years after serious injuries or disabilities. That means someone probably helped them. This gives us a different picture of ancient life. The prehistoric world was dangerous. But humans weren't necessarily facing it alone. They were building something more powerful than a medicine cabinet. They were building cooperation. Still, there is a darker side to this story. Ancient humans didn't always survive. For every person whose healed skeleton gives scientists evidence of recovery, there were countless others whose bodies disappeared without leaving a clear record. A broken bone that never healed might mean the person died. An infection could become fatal. A difficult childbirth could end a life. A severe tooth infection could spread through the body. There was no guarantee. Survival was brutally uneven. This is why saying that ancient humans were simply stronger than modern humans is misleading. They weren't walking around with magical immune systems. Modern humans are also extraordinarily resilient. The difference is that we have surrounded our natural defenses with an enormous technological system. If you cut your hand today, you can wash it with clean water. You can disinfect it. You can cover it. If an infection develops, modern medicine can identify and treat it. Ancient humans had none of that infrastructure. Their advantage was different. They had an enormous amount of practical knowledge accumulated across generations. And that knowledge could be incredibly specific. People learned which foods were safe, which plants were useful, which areas contained clean water, which injuries required rest, which animals were dangerous. Which seasons brought particular illnesses? Which environments were safer? This knowledge wasn't written down in a laboratory. It was stored inside human communities. And there is something fascinating about that. The first medicine cabinet may not have been a cabinet at all. It may have been the collective memory of a group. A grandmother remembering which plant helped with a particular problem. A hunter knowing how to treat an injury. A child learning which berries never to touch. A group remembering where clean water could be found. Every generation inherited thousands of tiny survival lessons. Some were probably wrong. Some treatments may have done nothing. Others may have been dangerous. But the useful knowledge had a chance to survive because people remembered outcomes. Over thousands of years, humans became extremely good at learning from experience. And eventually, some of those observations became the foundation for traditional medicine. Thousands of years later, modern scientists would begin testing some of these old remedies with completely different tools. They could isolate chemicals, study microorganisms, measure inflammation, test compounds, and sometimes discover that an ancient remedy contained something genuinely useful. But this doesn't mean ancient people understood modern medicine before modern medicine existed. It means humans were capable of discovering useful patterns long before they understood the science behind them. And that may be the most interesting part of the entire story. Ancient humans survived not because the world was safe. It wasn't. They survived because they learned. They watched. They remembered. They experimented. They taught. And most importantly, they helped one another. A human being alone in the wilderness is fragile. But a group that can share food, protect the injured, remember useful plants, care for children, and pass knowledge to the next generation becomes something much more powerful. That ability may have been one of humanity's greatest survival technologies. Not a spear. Not fire. Not medicine. Knowledge shared between people. And every time an ancient human survived an injury, remembered a useful plant, cared for a sick family member, or taught someone younger what not to eat, a tiny piece of survival knowledge moved forward. Eventually, that accumulated knowledge became something enormous. It became the beginning of medicine. So the next time you take a pill, visit a doctor, or put a bandage over a cut, remember something strange. Modern medicine did not appear from nowhere. It is the latest chapter in a story that began with humans simply looking at the world around them and asking one of the oldest questions imaginable. What can keep us alive?